listening to Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth on AFR Talk.
Welcome back, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Without further ado, let's get to our good friend, patiently waiting, thank you, Pastor Aaron Fruh. Afternoons with Aaron, we call this segment, and Aaron is the senior pastor at Knollwood Church in Mobile, Alabama. Aaron, how's your week been going?
Very well, Crane. Good. How about you?
All right. Well, it's been up and down, but yeah, it's great right now. I'll tell you that. It's a good thing. It's a good time. It's good. So tell me something, Aaron. When I see or hear this from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last week, I believe we did 2 segments on this last Friday, and I spent the last half hour of the program talking about this, scrapped everything and said, this is serious. And here is what the Prime Minister had to say in regard to John Kerry and President Obama's outreach to Iran on sanctions. Roll it.
I met Secretary Kerry right before he leaves to Geneva. I reminded him that he said that no deal is better than a bad deal. And the deal that is being discussed in Geneva right now is a bad deal. It's a very bad deal. Iran is not required to take apart even one centrifuge. But the international community is relieving sanctions on Iran. For the first time after many years, Iran gets everything that it wanted at this stage, and it pays nothing. And this is when Iran is under severe pressure. I urge Secretary Kerry not to rush to sign, to wait, to reconsider, to get a good deal. But this is a bad deal, a very, very bad deal. It's the deal of the century for Iran. It's a very dangerous and bad deal for peace in the international community.
Secretary John Kerry responded later, and that would be a little earlier this past week. And here is what he had to say. Roll it.
I believe the Prime Minister needs to recognize that no agreement has been reached about the end game here. That's the subject of the negotiation. The sanctions were put in place in order to bring about a negotiation. Because the first order of business of any superpower is to exercise its power thoughtfully and respectfully. And if we had to turn to a military option because we are left no other option, we must show the world we have exhausted every possible remedy and opportunity. Nothing is given up in a first step that freezes the program and even sets it back while you begin to negotiate to see what is possible with respect to the proving of a peaceful nuclear program. That is the tough negotiation.
Aaron, you know what happened this week with Iran rejecting the deal, France stepping in saying this is a bad deal, there's not verification, and you're not stopping anything, and you're weakening sanctions that were actually doing some good, putting the pressure on the regime. But in general, when you hear the Prime Minister say what he has said, and you hear our Secretary of State respond in that way, what goes through your mind?
Well, there's a word that the Prime Minister uses quite frequently, Crane, and it's the word existential threat. And to Israel, Iran poses an existential threat, a threat to their very existence as a nation. And so Israel is very dear to my heart, being a Jewish person and having about 100 family members that live throughout the land of Israel who right now are very concerned about it seems like America is turning their back on Israel. But I'll give you my theory, Crane, how we got to this point. Remember, just about 2 months ago, Iran was, to us, a great enemy. And there was much saber rattling, from the United States perspective, towards Iran, and we're talking about bunker-busting bombs to take out their nuclear capabilities. And then, of course, about 2 months ago, it was Syria that started threatening war. And so America, we send ships into the Mediterranean, and it looked like we're going to go to war with Syria. Even the Pope is begging President Obama, don't enter into war with Syria. And so suddenly, within just a few weeks, we go from a third world war with Syria, Iran, because Iran is a close ally of Syria. We go from that scenario into what it seems like to be a Beatles 60s love fest with the nation of Iran. And my question is, how did we get there so quickly?
Now, on the flip side, and on the flip side, you're going to answer that question. How did we get there so quickly? We will also take apart, quite frankly, some of the statements that were made by John Kerry and some of the things that came out of a Senate banking committee where Israel, it was referred to by Senator Mark Kirk of Illinois, the junior senator from Illinois, as anti-Israel. And get your thoughts on that. Aaron is the author of 2 Minute Warning, Why It Is Time to Honor Jewish People Before the Clock Runs Out. And he is our guest. Afternoons with Aaron, Pastor Aaron Fruh, Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth, AFR Talk.